I really tried to breed a autonomous culture
Yeah.
while still having that team sentiment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Ultimately, again, at the end of the day, it's a you versus you type of mentality where you understand that you will make mistakes because we're not robots.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately how you recover from them, how you hold yourself accountable to it, and also being able to leverage as many people internally, because I am also of the philosophy the more eyes that are on something, especially internally, the higher likelihood of win.
This is Conversations with Women in Sales, an award-winning podcast launched by Barbara Giamanco and now hosted by Lori Richardson. Listen to interviews with amazing women about their journeys in their sales careers, often discussing sales leadership tips, ideas, and strategies. We aim to inspire women to consider or continue a sales career, and for some women to grow into sales leadership. Men, we need your support and appreciate your allyship. Now, here's our host, Lori Richardson.
I'm here today with Erica Ettore, and Erica is Global Solutions Sales Managing Director at a company called Workiva. So welcome, Erica. It's so great to see.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit previously about Workiva and how it's an audit platform, or give us a little bit of background.
Sure. So Workiva is a regulatory reporting platform. We're a cloud-based platform. We pride ourselves on making the world a better place when it comes to regulatory reporting. And we really cut our teeth within the SEC arena and have since evolved our point solution to a broader platform that serves large global organizations all the way down to smaller companies that have process driven issues that ultimately translates to their reporting side.
And you have an interesting background because you got into Wall Street after college, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I had a couple of self-made curveballs throughout my career, but I went to a school called Rutgers based out of New Jersey. Go RU. Where I majored in communications, and I always had this philosophy in my mind of I want to work on Wall Street. I want to work on Wall Street. I want to work on Wall
Why
Street.
is
And
that, do you think?
I think it was the prestige, the fast-paced nature, the pressure, and everything really associated with it, that it was always like glamorous to me,
Yeah.
if you will, to work on Wall Street. And I didn't have the major to back it up. I majored in communications, the irony of all ironies. But I
Yeah.
think I spent a majority of my career, like early career, working for a large bank, Morgan Stanley, where
Yeah.
I started my career off in sales, right? Really focused on B2B sales, where I was driving financial wellness to large corporations. I then leveraged that experience and went into the asset management side, where I worked for a very non-traditional ETF company called Direction that monetizes market movement based on 3x leverage is their bread and butter. So very complex products, and always try to give myself a challenge going from role to role and not trying to fit within any sort of box. I then found myself during COVID working from home and got a little taste of working from home, where my husband and I decided that we also wanted to start a family. I then was like talking to one of my girlfriends during COVID, and she's, you have to come and you have to join our company called Workiva. You're registered with the SEC through FINRA. You have a lot of regulatory experience just given your background. I interviewed for Workiva a couple times. I was passed up for a couple different roles, and 4 years later, I'm now running a global sales team and absolutely have loved my time and experience at the company.
Wow, that's great. And did you start your family?
I did. I have a very rambunctious 4.5-year-old that's going on 14 by the name of Joey.
That's great. That's great. So so sales is enables you to have the flexibility and working remotely and all that kind of thing. And you mentioned a global team. So What's that to run a global team, especially when it's all virtual?
Yeah, it's fun, right? Every single day looks different, but the same at the same time, if that makes sense. My mornings are typically really focused on my European side of the business, right? Where I'm trying to catch up with some of the the European folks on my team because they're roughly halfway through their day.
Yeah.
I then get my son ready for school. And then I typically log in around 9:30, and I get my day started with both the European side as well as the North American side that's starting to wake up. Those are the predominant parts of my business where it stands today and a very predominant markets for Workiva at large. I would say that I found a very good balance because I have people on my team that either sit from all the way in Amsterdam all the way to the West Coast and everything in between, right?
Yeah.
So, really trying to create a unified culture across the board is incredibly important for me to ensure that everybody feels seen, heard, and ensuring that we really drive a team culture forward. I also would say that throughout that, I the slogan or the mantra that I use throughout my team is this is a we culture, not a me culture, and we're much stronger together. So really leveraging that type of mantra throughout a global remote team has really helped and been the linchpin of how my team ultimately and or interfaces internally and externally with their peers.
That's great. And what I love about Workiva is that you have a female CEO, and right on your website under our mission, it says inclusion is at our core. And I really appreciate that, especially these days when people are quick to erase things off their website. It's important. And you said you have there are other female sales leaders and leaders in the company.
Yes. The beauty about Workiva is we really pride ourselves on culture. Culture is at the crux of our foundation. We also are a Midwestern headquartered company, which is very non-traditional in the SaaS space. And being a Jersey girl, I think it really shines through in our culture. Yeah, I am incredibly proud to be a Workivian. I do think that it's a beautiful thing that we have a female CEO, which is also something that you don't traditionally see, especially within the SaaS arena.
Yeah.
And I have mentors from Europe all the way to the West Coast, and there are so many female leaders and or allies throughout the organization that really try to push and propel women forward. So it's really a great place to be for sure.
Yeah, and at the same time, you have very high standards for being a high performing team, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the beauty about my team is we are a relatively newly formed team. I've been in this role for close to 2 years where I came and I actually stood the team up thanks to the support from my management team, and I was really able to make, like, our microcosm culture what I wanted it to be, right? And I want my sales folks to come in every single day and really push themselves, to propel themselves and really take on a me versus me type of mentality, right? How can I be incrementally better than I was yesterday? Not you versus me, which is very traditional in a sales culture. And obviously there's an aspect of that that ultimately exists. But I think from my perspective, it's really driving the high performance nature that kind of exists across the board, right? Where how can you get better? How can you lose less? How can you maximize every single opportunity that you have, right, within an organization? How can you deliver the best to your clients? How can you deliver the best to your internal stakeholders? And my team probably they hate hearing me say this, but I'm like, how can we run the most pristine sales cycles to ensure that we are delivering both the advisory side of the deal, right, where we're really coaching and counseling our clients to also ensuring that we're developing really trustworthy relationships where they feel comfortable because sometimes it isn't the right fit. And it's not a matter of, hey, let's try to make this work. It's, hey, maybe the organization isn't ready for this type of platform and or to absorb this type of project. But if you come back to us in a couple of years, it might make sense then. Ultimately, finding that balance of delivering best in class to our clients, right? And doing it in the right and appropriate way is something that I really try to pride myself on. And I hope that my team day in and day out kind of embodies that, which I think a lion's share of them do and do it incredibly well.
Yeah, and your team's done when you're an award winner at Workiva, right?
I am. I was actually named manager of the year. I was completely shocked by it.
Really?
And yeah, and so incredibly thankful and grateful to my leadership team because none of it would happen without them. But most importantly, I am so incredibly thankful to my team for making me look good, if you will, to the point that I won an award because none of it would happen without any of them. So I am very thankful for the opportunity to work with such incredible people.
Yeah, and one of the things you do to have a high performing team is that you have a big push on holding people accountable, right? So let's talk about being accountable as a rep and also how leaders need to be holding people accountable because it's hard, don't you think?
It's definitely hard, and not everybody loves being held accountable, and sometimes week over week, like, some weeks I wanna be really held accountable, and other weeks I'm like, "I'm drowning," and that's just the reality of it. I think from my perspective, my team and I have come up with a collaborative framework that they have stake in the game, right? When it comes to accountability. Whatever metrics that I set out for my team or whatever parameters I set out for my team, it's agreed upon. It's not, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking." It's, "Hey, do you guys think that this is reasonable? Is this a reasonable ask? Can you do it by this date? When do you think you can get it done by?" And if the date comes and it slips like 1, 2, 3 times, the conversation obviously changes, right? But I think right out of the gate, it's incredibly important to ensure that like your team has stake in the game, right? And they have skin in the game and they're ultimately really trying to drive forward the business in a very methodical way and understanding that being held accountable both internally and externally to your clients because that discipline also is becomes externally facing as well, right? Where you are also held accountable to your clients and ensuring that you're delivering appropriately to your clients. That discipline is seen across the board, right? And so it's not just something that I try to instill internally, but also externally to ensure that we're delivering the best in class when it comes to our clients as well.
Yeah, that's great. And in terms of other things that do you have other tips for building such a high performing team?
Absolutely. I think one of the main things is everything's a shared success. Really coming back to when it comes to sales, it's really easy to find yourself in a lone wolf-esque type culture.
Yeah.
So really embodying the we versus the me and being stronger together, I think really helps, right? So if I have somebody on my team working on a special project, I'm like, how can this fit into the same bucket 9 times? How can you make it your own? How can you ultimately extract something out of it as a different seller on the team to ensure that you can also leverage it and ensuring that exists across the board, right? So that also breed the culture of we're working together. And then you become stronger together as a team, right? And then you also celebrate your team's success on a quarterly basis when, deals start to really roll in, especially towards the end of the quarter. I started rallying email where I add as many key stakeholders across the board to an email thread and we all just cheerlead people over the finish line. And we're very transparent also about potential risks that exist in deals. So people feel comfortable also raising their hand and saying something's not right, but also celebrating at the same time. So it's really ultimately trying to find that balance of, hey, we're championing for each other, we're being incredibly supportive, but also there's something wrong here. Let me raise my hand. Let me see how I can be better and deliver something better to my clients by asking my teammates. So it's really trying to find that balance and breed that type of culture of being comfortable and also being very uncomfortable with propelling yourself forward.
Yeah, some of the negative things I've seen in the last, number of months, even last year, I would say is companies where people can't make a mistake. They're scared to do something different because they don't want to fail because it's a negative, it's not embraced. And then also there have been some managers with a really heavy hand that don't want people to talk to different departments or different people. I just don't see how you can build a good team that way. Do you have you can make a mistake, you're going to be all right. It sounds like that's what you're alluding to.
Yeah, for sure. You can certainly make a mistake, but I also want to see accountability. I want to hear this went wrong. And there are some times that things are out of your control, right? But I ultimately want my team to be accountable to what goes wrong, right? So that they can go into the next sales cycle stronger, quicker, faster, better. So I definitely breed a culture of that. I also hate being the bottleneck and I hate when there's bottlenecks. So I'm like, please don't feel the need to use me or go around me. Please feel free to reach out to other key stakeholders.
Yeah.
Being in a global role, I sometimes find myself stretched thinner than I would like because there are busy periods. So I really try to empower my team. Go figure it out on your own, right?
Uh-huh.
Try to get to the answer yourself. Also, it allows you to cultivate strong relationships internally so you feel comfortable going to that person later on. I really try to breed a autonomous culture
Yeah.
while still having that team sentiment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Ultimately, again, at the end of the day, it's a you versus you type of mentality where you understand that you will make mistakes because we're not robots.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately how you recover from them, how you hold yourself accountable to it, and also being able to leverage as many people internally because I am also of the philosophy the more eyes that are on something, especially internally, the higher likelihood of win
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And you compete against yourself is what you encourage, right?
all the time.
Yeah. So when I worked for a software company that dealt with Wall Street, I had some imposter syndrome because I didn't really understand the market. If someone doesn't really know the regulatory space, do you still do you train people or do you take people that have knowledge or who comes in as a good sales rep?
So I would say most of my team does not have a regulatory reporting background at all. However, they are self starters. They are the biggest champions for themselves, right? They're knowledge finders, they're knowledge gatherers, right? Which definitely comes across. And that type of tenacity, right, transcends into different aspects of a sales cycle,
Mm.
right? And is something that can't be coached or teached. In my mind, having somebody that can roll their sleeves up and looks at an opportunity and or an organization of a large behemoth in different ways and different angles to try to provide advisory, coaching, and counseling to our champions within the business is the most important skill set that I'm hiring for. I'm I currently have a couple of roles open on my team.
Plug there for anyone. That's great.
Shameless plug. But the thing that I would say is coachability and being
Yeah.
a self-starter are the things that I look for the most, right? I'll come back to my own example. I had a communications degree and I was selling some of the most complex products to large hedge funds and banks, etc., because I taught myself. I went out to try to find my own knowledge. I majored in communication.
Yeah.
So I am looking for people I'm looking for skills that cannot be taught and characters that ultimately can't be taught.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great to hear. And what do you do for your own professional development? I'm just curious. Are you a reader? Do you listen to podcasts or watch videos or what?
Yeah, I am a big I'm funny enough, this is gonna sound very silly, but I live on ChatGPT and I find a lot of I put problems into ChatGPT and it
Yeah.
comes up with different solutions, right? What you put into it is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
If you treat it like a Google search, it'll come back to you as a Google search.
Great.
But the more in depth that you try to provide information, it it ultimately plays a role of a career coach in some regards,
Yeah.
which I know sounds a little non-traditional and somewhat funny, but I find myself doing that more times than I don't. That also helps me with the self-improvement aspect. A lot of my friends actually make fun of me because I do one-on-one career coaching, sometimes 2 times a week, 1 time a week, depending on what my schedule allows. I do a lot of one-on-one things. I listen to podcasts all the time,
Yeah.
but the ultimate driver, I think, is a lot of the folks at Workiva. I learn day in and day out, regardless of title, position, anything. I learn so much from people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So I would say it's probably a culmination of those 3 things. And I also have an obsession with just trying to make myself better, which I think is part of the drive towards it and keeps the momentum behind it going.
Yeah, that's what I love about our profession of B2B sales and sales leadership is that almost everybody I talk to wants to learn more. They want, if they closed 99 deals and lost one, they want to
Right.
know what happened to that one deal. And it's different than being a doctor or something where you're supposed to act like you know everything. We don't know. We're in a human business and things change and technology changes. You're talking about working with Chat GPT as a almost like a counselor. And I totally get that. I get what you're saying that there we have so many great resources now to improve and to grow. It's a really exciting time to be in sales. And ultimately, are you glad that you got into sales? Right, it's not something you thought about at Rutgers.
Always had some sort of hustle in me, which, like, maybe during our next podcast, we can talk about some of the business things that I did during my time at Rutgers. I think I made my parents, like, scratch their head at some point, but they were always like, "Erica's never gonna go hungry because she's always doing something." And it's just really finding that groove that I found my groove. I had no idea that, like, those types of even subconsciously, those types of skills that I had and that type of drive that I had would I didn't know what it would translate to, and then I found myself in a sales role. I'm like, "This is it. This is it. This is where I'm supposed to be." So I haven't looked back since, and I absolutely love it. There has to be something special there to keep you going quarter after quarter, right? You
Yeah.
need some sort of drive, and it's takes somebody that is truly a salesperson to do it year after year.
Yeah, and as a director now, you get to help others develop and grow, and that must be really rewarding as well.
Oh my gosh, it totally is. I think, like, I come to think of some of the people on my team that just watching them grow in
Yeah.
such a short period of time, I'm like, "You have look at where you were a year ago.
Yeah.
Now you're on main stage, like, sales kickoff, talking about some of the largest deals that the company has seen, driving the biggest impact to some of the world's largest organizations. Look what happened in the course of a year. What's
Yeah.
gonna happen over 2 years, over 3 years, if you keep going and you keep getting better and you still continue to embrace that you versus you type of mentality." So yeah, I it's incredibly rewarding, and even on my toughest days when I don't wanna get out of bed, my team is the main driver for that, so I am so incredibly thankful for them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Can people reach out to you on LinkedIn to connect?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I'm more than happy to help anybody. I there has been times in my career, and still are to this day, right, where I'm like, "Am I on the right path?" So I am
Yeah.
more than happy to help anybody and share my story to the extent that they would find it helpful and or just lend a listening ear.
Oh, that's wonderful. Erica Ettore from Workiva, thank you so much for being here today. I'm anxiously going to watch your career and see how things are going and wish you continued success. And thanks for being such a bright light in our sales industry.
Oh, thank you, Lori. Thank you for being such an advocate for women. Like, there should be more of you, and I am so thankful. Like, you live, breathe, eat, and sleep it. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
I'm your announcer, Larry Long Jr., and we sincerely thank you for listening to this episode of Conversations with Women in Sales, encouraging you to share an episode with all of your friends and your favorite male allies. Let's work together to change the face of sales. Until next time, you can find all of our episodes at womensalespros.com/podcast.